Hey, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I am your prime fanatic, George Bueller, and over this way is my brother from another mother, the junior fanatic, the manhammer himself, Mr. Seth. How you doing, sir?
What up, y'all? I'm doing pretty good tonight. How are you doing, my friend?
Excellent, excellent. Had a nice busy day at the shop today because I guess folks got paid. So yeah, people were buying comics left and right on the old auctions there. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so
Fridays are always an interesting day. They're the day that the cafeteria is always packed at work, and everybody. Yeah, the lines for things are longer, but
do you guys
it's
have
it's
like
still.
you have like the square pizza and everything like that? Yeah.
No. We have like it's like Sabaros, but 1 degree worse kind of deal.
Dang it,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like a cafeteria. You can go and order a hamburger and they'll cook it and whatever. And they've got like sandwiches they're already made of. It's not a bad little deal for for what it is, like for an
Okay,
on-campus
cool.
cafeteria, but
Nice. I mean, I got to personally give a shout out to the Humana hospital cafeteria because, of course, Michelle had to get her surgery last week, which everything went great. She's doing awesome. Yeah, actually, you got to chit chat with her a little bit right
yep.
before the show starts. So yeah, she's doing tip top and basically gets to go back to work basically next Wednesday because they're off Monday and Tuesday because of election day.
Right.
So yeah, so they'll be back in on Wednesday. So I'm sure everybody's gonna be very happy to see her and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And
But yeah,
don't
so
forget to vote Tuesday, y'all. Just
that's
vote.
right.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you vote for, vote. Make
Just
your
vote.
voice.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Do your civic duty and all
E-
that good stuff here.
exactly.
I see in the comments, Diamond Dave Mattingly has thrown in a lot of he good old Diamond Dave has given us a lot of. If we run out of topics here for our greatest cinematic injustice, he's I think he's got us covered here.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
But we're gonna get to some comic books first here. Oh, and one thing I do have a little bit of swag I want to show you here. So
Oh yeah. What you got? What you got? Oh, nice.
yeah. So Diamond has been putting these out here. These and they're like it's a real metal lunchbox.
I was gonna say, does it have the thermos? Yep.
Boom. They call it a drinking container. They don't have the rights for thermos for the
Oh
like
yeah, that's
name
right.
thermos.
Yeah.
So it's a drinking container. But yeah. So yeah, got some neat art
That
on
is
the sides
awesome.
there.
Yeah.
And the Red Skull lives. Yeah. So because yeah, what was it earlier in the year? We had a Mike Plug Ghost Rider here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I had to get that one. These are $30, man. But it's like it's a metal lunchbox and it's got a thermos in it. It's like you could use this if you want to take your lunch in it. It's
Yeah, that $30 for a metal lunchbox ain't bad, you know.
yeah, and there's all
for real.
kinds of different ones they've had. Like right now at the shop, I think we've got like a GI Joe one, like one side Snake Eyes, one side Storm Shadow. There's a Transformers the movie. There's a giant size X-Men #1.
Ooh.
We've had Man Thing, some Deadpool. I'm trying to think. There's been a bunch of different ones. So they keep coming up with different ones. Each every couple of months or whatnot. They solicit their catalog stuff like that. So, but surprisingly enough, there's not been a lot of DC. You've had Ninja Turtles, so you got like at least that indie covered. But it's primarily been a lot of Marvel stuff.
They're weird about licensing sometimes, though, aren't they? Like, yeah, because I remember with the Toy Fair, Mego or the Twisted Toy Fair Theater, they never could get the DC characters licensed for that. It was all Marvel's and everybody else's, but
Oh, Twisted Toy Fair Theater. That is a wonderful blast from the past.
oh, I know that. I wish they would reprint those. Just like like the full things. If you never read them, Twisted Toy Fair Theater is some of the most hilariously off-color crap you will ever read in your life.
Amen. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like it started in Wizard, and then basically it got so popular in Wizard that they just basically Toy Fair had its own magazine.
Yeah.
Mouse here. Toy Fair got its own magazine, and then basically Twisted Toy Fair Theater got a larger, spread of the magazine.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was just great. It's like they just took like mostly it was the Mego action figures and had them like Iron Man was always drunk. Spider-Man usually ended up being naked by the end of the thing.
Yeah, Spider-Man was apathetic towards everything and didn't want to get involved. And Ben Grimm was a frat boy.
Yes.
And he always wanted to go on panty raids, and he would write "ha ha" on things. Yeah. One of my favorite bits in that whole thing is when Daredevil is going to put the supervillains on trial, right?
I remember this one.
Yeah, you remember. And, so he's still got to be Matt Murdock, the lawyer, but then he
Mhm.
puts Daredevil on the stand too. So he's dressed as Matt Murdock and then calls Daredevil to the stand, steps over the partition in front of everyone, and puts the Daredevil outfit on, thinking that no one could see him.
Because he
The
can't
running
see
gag is he's blind. Yeah. And the Red Skull is watching it the whole time, and at the end of it, he just gives it a standing ovation.
it.
Yeah. Wunderbar.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was
Yeah,
just some of the stupid stuff like that, or like the Secret Wars issue where they had to, or the Beyonder had them playing paintball, except no one told the Punisher. So he just like puts 3 in the chest of Green Goblin, and he's like, "Oh, you get to use the red paint," and the Punisher's like, "Paint? Yeah."
Oh yeah. But, yeah, like Thor was always drinking, but Iron Man was always drunk, basically playing on his character's alcoholism because
Yeah.
alcoholism's funny.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh
I
yeah. These are there's some stuff in there that would not fly at all now, but
that may be why they haven't reprinted. 'Cause it's like this was late '90s, 2000s era humor, so maybe not. I don't
yeah.
know.
Oh yeah, you remember the issue where they time traveled back to July 4th, 1776, and Thomas Jefferson tried to seduce Storm, quote unquote.
Yes.
Because yeah, yeah,
It's because they, basically the history books coming out that time were like, oh, Jefferson liked the ladies. He had lots of
yeah,
girlfriends that were there were also slaves that he owned, and
right,
so
yeah,
like that's like he bore some children. So like, yes,
yeah.
our
Uh,
founding fathers.
we need to do a whole episode about Toy Fair for
We
real.
really could, yeah.
Yeah,
It's so funny because you see a lot of like Wizard back issues, but I rarely see Toy Fair back issues. So either like
yeah.
everybody either tossed those out or someone has them and they're not getting rid of them.
I think they're keeping them, man, because it's like even you know how sometimes I travel on illicit circles of the internet to find
Mm,
various media,
yeah.
and even scans of that are very difficult to find.
Hmm.
I have found sporadic volumes of the best of stuff that I've
Okay.
got, but none of the individual issues, or hardly any of them. No complete run of Twisted Toy Fair Theater because those collected editions didn't collect everything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the very elusive to find.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've never been able to find a whole run of it, which is weird because I can usually find what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting. Well, here we got a couple of comics. This is some stuff from last week I want to share with you guys. There's some definitely worth picking up here. One indie from Image Comics here. This is a one shot called Voices in My Head. This is done by Joe Pruitt. He's the writer for the whole thing. And basically, what it was that he just had a bunch of ideas for different horror stories or different weird stories or whatever else that didn't really have a place, or maybe it was it wasn't a fully formed idea at the time. So he basically made this anthology book here that has 4 different stories in here with different artists. So
yeah,
that's kind of the fun thing. Is he's the same writer, but it's all different artists in here. And the main cover here, we've got an English damsel who basically no man is ever good enough for her until she basically dies and goes to hell, and then finds the perfect man for her.
okay,
Yeah, so great Brian Boland cover here, but yeah, I slept on this one when it first came out. I hadn't heard anything about it, and then I kind of paged through. I'm going, this kind of looks good, so I ended up buying one. Yeah, great anthology book. I kind of hope Joe does more of these.
I was gonna
And
say that cover looks very Ghoulies inspired too. Yeah,
it does, yeah. These are all the little demons that basically, they're now, her minions. But
yeah,
yeah, like I said, it was a really well done anthology book. There, like, okay, yeah, it was just a lot of fun. I think, like I said, there was 4 stories in there, and I enjoyed every one. So,
nice.
and then now I've got a trio of DC picks here from last week that are all worth checking out.
Okay,
Uh, for one, Detective Comics 1090 is introducing a new creative team because Ram V and can't remember who was it, Jason Sean Alexander, but a couple different people with the writing and artist team on there, doing kind of another kind of far-fetched story. Basically, we haven't had a really good mystery detective story in Detective Comics in a really long time. enter in Tom Taylor and Mikhail Janin. So they are the team on this one. This is a Dan Panosian B cover here. I didn't go with the A cover because that Panosian B cover just looked amazing.
That's a killer cover, yeah.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a murder mystery detective whodunit in the pages of Detective Comics, and it's off to a great start.
It's about time Detective Comics had an actual detective story in it, because I don't remember they used to have the backups in there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
That would be that, because like they would all be like, there was that period of time when Batman was always tied up into some kind of crossover or event, and like I couldn't do any detective work in his own damn comic book. But
basically we're dealing with a new vigilante in Gotham that is basically killing criminals no matter what, if their crime is minor or major, they're going after them. And so basically Batman's kind of behind the times a little bit because they've really been playing up in the last couple of runs of both Detective and Batman that Bruce is getting older. He is not the spring chicken. His age is starting to show.
Yeah.
So they're playing with that a little bit, and then kind of this mystery of who this mystery vigilante is. But they're also kind of tying in the story that basically goes back to a moment when Dr. Thomas Wayne had a patient that basically was a criminal, was an abusive, spouse, and so Martha was trying to get the mother and child away from the patient, and Thomas, being a very principled man, he took his Hippocratic oath and he says, "Nope, I am treating this patient. Doesn't matter what they've done. It's not mine to judge. I'm treating a patient."
Yeah.
Well, there's a very interesting twist of who that patient ended up being. So there's some twists and turns in this one. I'm like, oh, I am here for it. So I was just absolutely thrilled because I love Tom Taylor anyway. He's basically responsible for like the what was it? The zombie DC story. Deceased. Yeah, he was responsible for that. He's done a lot of like the Injustice stuff. So he's really good at like the sandbox storylines or like anything goes sort of thing.
He didn't do that Mr. Miracle series, did he? That was Tom King.
Yes, that was Tom King, yeah.
Okay,
yeah. Tom King gets all kind of the weird very in-depth series sort of thing like that. So my other DC pick here, this probably is an obvious one, a big hit from last week. Absolute Wonder Woman #1. So a new take on Wonder Woman here in this Absolute universe. You've got Kelly Thompson's writing this. Hayden Sherman and Jordi Belair are the art team on here. So a stellar creative team on this one. I mean, they're for all this Absolute stuff, they're pulling out the big guns.
Is she writing a parademon?
It's a demon.
Okay.
It's because basically the big difference in this one, because of course you've got very stark differences of all these heroes, and kind of the overwhelming theme I've seen in both the Batman and the Wonder Woman so far, and we'll kind of see if we're correct with Superman that comes out next week, is that no matter what situation, no matter how dark or dire, the hero will always rise. So that seems to be the thing with Batman. It's definitely the thing with Wonder Woman, because in this world, the Amazons are extinct. There is no Themyscira. Wonder Woman is the last of the Amazons, and she was basically raised from an infant in hell by one of her classic villains, Cersei.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. And nonetheless, despite the fact that she grew up in hell, she rides a demonic steed. The lasso of truth basically looks like it's angry red sort of thing, not the golden lasso sort of thing like that. She carries this giant sword that looks like she stole it from Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. I mean, it's just, she has an arsenal with her. She is a warrior and a fighter and ready to go kick some butt. But she's still Wonder Woman. She's nice and wants good things for humanity and whatever else, and saving the day and all that kind of stuff. So so it's just, I'm curious to see where this series is going to go. But I've been very intrigued by all these Absolute series so far. Last from the last week's pick here, this is issue #1 of Green Lantern Dark. This is an Elseworld series here. So basically, we are dealing with a post-apocalyptic Earth where basically dead things have taken over, kind of led by Solomon Grundy. And he seems to be, for some reason, infecting other things. So basically, he's creating a zombie army, essentially. So there's basically little pockets of humanity, whatever else. Green Lantern's kind of this fictional, mythological hero, so to speak, like that, but is highly imperfect. That sort of thing like that. So a very troubled hero here in a post-apocalyptic situation.
Yeah.
But a great creative team on here because we got Tate Brommel is the writer on this one, and Werther Della Dera is the artist on here, best known for Something is Killing the Children. So a really distinct, dark look to this book here. And the cover art is kind of indicative of that there too. So yeah, just really, really interesting stuff there. So again, that was another one I kind of slept on initially. And then suddenly, yep, okay, I'm in. Yeah, I took one look at him like, yeah, that looks good.
Camera flicker.
Yeah, you're frozen on me. I can hear you, but you're frozen on me for whatever reason.
So yeah, because I can see you.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you are. You're back now. Nope, now you're frozen again. Well, you mess with that and see if you can get back on here, but I can still hear you. So
I'm gonna try and jump out and jump.
Okay, cool. That's cool. All right. Well, let's see. Well, while Seth comes back here, we'll do our other two picks here. This is my two for this week here. Another one that probably should be obvious is I raved about the first issue, Batman: The Long Halloween, Last Halloween, issue number 2. So this is, of course, the third entry into the Long Halloween series here. Oh, I think you froze up again on me. Yeah, this is the third volume in the Long Halloween trilogy because you got the original Long Halloween that came out in the late 90s. Then the early 2000s, you had Dark Victory, which is the second part. And then now the third and final part is The Last Halloween. This is special because the fact that Tim Sale, who was the artist on both the other volumes, passed away before this could be completed. So he had actually, basically unbeknownst to Jeff Loeb at the time of his passing, Jeff is the writer on this one, unbeknownst to him, Tim Sale had done cover art for all 10 issues and done some other insert art here and there, and also kind of helped plot out the rest of the story. So they were basically able to finish what they thought was going to be an unfinished product. And the wonderful thing about Last Halloween is for the internal art, you've had basically a who's who of artists that have similar styles to Tim Sale's art style, but all basically coming in support of Tim. So the first issue you had Ed Rizzo, who of course he's best known for 100 Bullets, but also is currently doing Blood Brothers Mother over at Distillery Comics. And then the second issue here, art done by the great Klaus Janson with colors by Dave Stewart. And of course, Klaus did a lot of work in the 80s with Frank Miller, especially on Daredevil, Dark Knight Returns, stuff like that. So Klaus Janson is an absolute legend. So it's truly wonderful to have him on the book as well. And the story is actually really good because, again, we're dealing with a true detective story. It's a whodunit again, and more so than Dark Victory, which focused more on kind of the origin of Harvey Dent, Two-Face. Last Halloween kind of goes back to the original Long Halloween, and you've got a copycat killer who is basically recreating the murders of Holiday. Because if you remember, the Holiday killer in the book had a modified 22 caliber pistol that basically the handle was taped down and it used like a rubber baby bottle nipple for a silencer. And usually only 1 or 2 bullets were loaded in the thing. Maybe the gun was only fired once in the attempted murder, or in most cases, actual murder. And it was always left at the crime scene as well. So that was the calling card, was this pistol. And so this has come back. A lot of other sins from Batman's early career past are starting to come back. So if you are familiar with Long Halloween and with Dark Victory, this all kind of ties in. Plus, there's a lot more stuff going on with Harvey Dent and his wife Gilda, who's basically kind of broken bad. That started with Dark Victory, and now it's kind of getting even more so in Last Halloween. So definitely worth checking out there if you're an old school Batman fan, again, who appreciates detective stories by the world's greatest detective. All right. Getting any better for you, Seth?
I have no idea.
Well, let's see if you need to log out, maybe do a reset or something. I don't know. I basically got one more comic and I can tap dance till you get back. All right. Anywho, last book here on the docket. This is a one-shot from the Image Ghost Machine imprint. So that's basically with Jeff Johns has been doing a lot of stuff on them. Gary Frank, Brad Anderson, just a lot of Jason Fabok, a lot of fantastic creative people on this Ghost Machine sub-label within Image Comics. This is connected to Hyde Street because basically the one-shots will all be subtitled "It Happened on Hyde Street." This is called Devour. This was very much reminiscent to me of the 80s movie The Stuff. We basically kind of a spoof on weight loss craze and just the need to be thin at all costs. And so they kind of allude to this a little bit in the initial issue of Hyde Street, in the first issue. So there's a part where your host, Mr. X-Ray, is walking past a gym, and you kind of hear basically like a little pitch about this Devour stuff here. Sort of thing like that. So kind of give you a little Easter egg, and then in this one, we're dealing with a 3-generational story, basically a grandmother, mother, and a daughter. All obsessed with weight loss and looking thin and perfect and whatever else. Starting with the grandmother, finding this cure-all, all you need is one. Basically a new you, fat-free, fast-acting, results guaranteed. And then later on in the book, you find out what's actually inside the bottle that's making everybody so thin and pretty and also ravenous at times. So aside from the main Hyde Street book, we're going to get a series of these one shots that are all, like I say, they'll allude to them in other issues, so we kind of almost know when they're coming, or you got something coming soon there. So yeah, I just really enjoy the whole thing because we've got possibly another kind of horror host, so to speak. I don't know what you necessarily want to call them. But yeah, that's kind of the situation you're dealing with there. Oh, you look and sound good there.
All right. Well, we're gonna hope this works better.
Yeah, you're tip top there.
All
right. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. This one shot. I always talk about the cure all weight loss drug Devour.
Oh.
Yeah. So basically dealing with 3 generations of women who do anything to be thin and pretty, and including consuming a mystery product here. So yeah, like I said, the Hyde Street stuff from Image's Ghost Machine imprint has just been a ton of fun. Just good old fashioned horror, spooky stuff. So yeah. Eddie Fight Master, what is going on, sir? Good to see you, brother. So it reminds him of the Smallville Amy Adams story where she was fat and then took something to be thin. Yeah, I didn't watch Smallville that much. I don't know about you, but yeah.
I watched the first couple of seasons. I think I got into like the 3rd season, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It was before Lois ever got in there and all that stuff. Yeah, I was like, I think Christopher Reeve had just shown up and was like actually explaining to Clark like who he was and everything.
Okay.
But yeah, I never finished. I wanted to, but yeah, I never. Yeah.
Yeah, or also kind of reminiscent of the Stephen King Thinner, even though there's no gypsy curse in this one.
Yeah. I had to do a 7th grade book report on Thinner.
No kidding.
Yeah,
that's a good one to talk about the 7th grade.
Yeah, my teacher had no idea what book it was, and it was like, and she was just like, "Yeah, okay." And then it was like, "Yeah," I come in and it was like, "Yeah, dude's getting a Hummer in a car and hits a gypsy." And yeah.
And the movie was fun too. I liked it.
I enjoyed the movie actually quite a bit.
Yeah. All right. So our topic du jour this evening is the greatest cinematic injustices. What do you think are the greatest cinematic injustices? And when you brought up this topic, because this is all Seth's idea, and I just absolutely was blown away. Just a great idea, and it's such a broad topic because you can basically a movie can be a cinematic injustice for numerous reasons. It was a crime that it was made. Maybe movies that should have been made that never got made. That's a crime. Your
things things that happened in the movie. Okay, just to kickstart with like the example that primed this for me.
Yes.
Was thinking about The Force Awakens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's all excited, like first new Star Wars movie in 10 years, something like that. Because I can't remember exactly the timeline, but everybody was waiting for this.
Right.
You had Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher coming back, and then not once did all three of them share a scene together at all.
And beyond that, you had R2 and 3PO. So you had Kenny Baker wasn't alive, so it was Warwick Davis filling in for Kenny Baker.
Yeah.
But you still had Anthony Daniels. Then you had Peter Mayhew only in the first of the three new ones.
Right.
And then Billy D. Williams came in later.
Yeah.
And then even, I can't remember the actor's name that played Wedge. He was in the last one. So you had all these classic. Yeah, you're absolutely
that barely that never interacted, or barely if they did.
We got one scene with Luke and Leia together, and it was only and it basically that was Ghost Luke. We got some interaction between Han and Leia, but we kind of expected that. But it's like, we never got the trio together in the same room in the same scene in any of those three movies.
Yeah. And that was like one of the biggest things that was like that was a crime for that movie, because I didn't even think that The Force Awakens was that bad. I actually kind of enjoyed it for what it was.
It was fun, yeah.
But then the rest of the trilogy just crapped the bed. But
I mean, there were things I like in all three movies. I could find enjoyment in all three movies. But you're right. The story is so uneven. There are huge things left out. Of course, like we said, we never reunite our full cast in its entirety. There are only just little sporadic ones there. For me, the cinematic injustice is that John Boyega's character of Finn FN27 is never brought in as a Jedi, or basically made aware that he's Force sensitive. Because they make those drops, those hints, especially in the first one, and they kind of do it a little bit in the last one, but they don't really follow through with it.
They do that his whole character dirty. Because like in the first movie, when he meets Rey, and then the second movie is like, oh, he's got to go and find his friend, and then he gets lost in the shuffle and doesn't even come back anywhere near the main plot, ever again. And his whole character in that thing got messed up.
It did. And he was a likable guy too. I liked him in the movie. So
I loved the idea of a stormtrooper that just decided to not be a stormtrooper anymore. His whole thing was that thing hooked me. That whole bit hooked me from the start. Like it's like, okay, I'm interested in this guy, because Star Wars to me has always been far more interesting with the normal people than the Jedi anyway. Because it's like, oh, I want to see how these like dudes react when they find out that they're clones. Like, why are, what do they feel about fighting? The Clone War part was interesting to me for that aspect.
Right.
And then like the X-Wing pilots, like in the original trilogy, like the whole Rogue Squadron stuff, that was always cool to me, because it was like, these guys still, even though there was space magic out there, these guys still had missions to go and do.
And they were still the elites, the best of the best as the pilots. I feel you. That's there's things I want to like about the Star Wars movies, but it's just so many uneven things. And and it's interesting you said that, because my buddy Trevor Stanfield came into the shop, and he and I were discussing this topic, and he brought up your exact same point. Another topic he brought up, and I never thought about this one either, another basically cheated reunion. This one goes back to the 1950s, though. The History of Mankind, which I think was an Irvin Kershner big production, one of those big star-studded event films, which literally was the history of man in film. Starting from the beginning all the way to the modern day. And so it had a lot of the stars of like the past. Like basically like some of your silent movie actors and some of your up-and-comers at the time, like your John Carradines and your Vincent Prices, who were very young in this film at this point. But the most important thing is that all three of the living Marx brothers, Groucho, Chico, and Harpo, were all in this film, but not one of them shared a scene together. They were
No kidding.
all three were in different scenes.
Wow.
So
Okay. Yeah. That's
you got the Marx Brothers together in a movie, and then you didn't put them together in the movie.
Wow. The
Yeah.
greatest strength that you could have had, and you just wasted it entirely.
Yeah, I mean Trevor's a
Yeah.
huge Groucho Marx fan, so he has all the background on this one. That's we're basically just kind of reiterating what he had told me. But yeah, it was just fascinating. It's like, how could you have that much stuff in there that just cheat people in that reunion there?
Yeah. Now another one that got me was actually with the marketing of a movie,
Hmm.
and it was Terminator 2.
Oh,
Because and now don't get me wrong, love Terminator 2, one of the greatest actions movies of all time, one of the best sequels of all time.
sure.
But the marketing did that movie so dirty that just about nobody that I know of that was around when that movie came out got to experience the whole idea of which Terminator was the good one versus which one was the bad one.
Yeah.
Because the marketing just straight up tells you, in the first 2 seconds that Schwarzenegger's the good guy.
Yeah.
And even though the movie's built to be played where you don't know who's who until the scene in the mall.
Right.
And just think about how much more powerful and cool that would have been if nobody knew. And if the marketing could have just shut the hell up for 2 minutes. And I mean, luckily the movie that we got was Terminator friggin' 2, and nobody really cared about that part. But like I just would have thought that would have been a great, a huge twist to really like leave in there for people to like experience organically.
Well, that's an outstanding point because the movie does play like it's a mystery at first. When basically
Yeah.
T-800 shows up until he basically reiterates the Kyle Reese line, "Come with me if you want to live."
Yeah.
Sort of thing like that. Almost like maybe Kyle gave him that line. It's something along those. But
and then all the stuff with the T-1000 too. If you go back and look at it, we only think that it's sinister because we already know that he's the bad guy.
Right.
Looking back at it, like he's the cop. He's the guy that's supposed to be safe.
Yeah,
and then
clean cut, squeaky clean, good looking dude.
Right? Well mannered. It's like he interacts well with the people as opposed to Schwarzenegger. Who couldn't do it. Yeah. So it's like I really begrudge that idea that that got taken away. Now also kind of playing into this idea though of the marketing betraying a movie. But I did get to experience it with people that had that went in completely blind was From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Because if you're unfamiliar with that movie, and spoilers for it, because it is like 25 years old at this point. But the first the first half of the movie is a crime movie and it's an escape movie. And then at the midpoint, it just completely turns on its head and becomes a vampire flick. And so it's like I'm watching it with people, and like I'm not even thinking like I think I even might have even told them that it was a vampire flick at first, but they like totally focused out on that. They were like way too focused on creepy Tarantino and his foot thing, for Juliette Lewis, and like the people were actually going to leave on that one. They were like, yeah, Richie was a little too much for us, but then once they get into the titty twister, and then like,
that's
and
all
then,
over.
once that, and then everybody just turns and looks at me, and then I just start dying laughing because they were not expecting this whatsoever. It was like, oh, this is great, I love it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, I knew going into it what it was going to be because I saw the trailer, and I mean,
right.
At the time in '97 when that movie came out, I was a humongous Tarantino fan and a very big Robert Rodriguez fan.
Oh yeah,
and so like, wait, the two hot directors I love right now are doing a movie together. I will buy.
Sign me up.
I will buy 4 tickets. Thank you very much.
Yeah, how is this not the greatest movie of all time? Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a blast. It's still one of my favorite movies. I never get tired of it. Love the soundtrack. So I had a poster hanging in my apartment for years.
I remember that because I wanted it. You know.
Yeah. So and somehow when the move to E-Town, it got lost somewhere in the shuffle. So. So it is gone, but oh well.
You'll find it buried in a box somewhere like 10 years from now, probably.
I'm sure, yeah. But it served its purpose for many decades. So
I feel
you. Here's a cinematic injustice, and this is kind of a newer one, or it's not a new because this dates back to basically like 2003, 2006, around there. But the story itself is kind of new because it just recently broke in Variety. But Brendan Fraser had a recent interview in Variety, and the interviewee brought up a almost project of his that he would have had in 2003.
Okay. What?
Yep. The movie was called Superman Flyby. Horrible, horrible subtitle on
Was
that.
that the script that Kevin Smith wrote? Or was
No.
that the J.J. Abrams script?
This is the J.J. Abrams one.
Oh man. Okay, I know about the script. I didn't know Fraser was supposed to be part of it.
Not only was he supposed to be part of it, this is his screen test. This is him in the
Wow.
Christopher Reeve era suit.
Not
Look
gonna
at
lie
this.
though, I like it. Yeah.
I love this. I mean, just he fills that thing out. He's
Yeah.
a beast in this. It's like
Yeah. He
it's the people would have went apey if he would have made it to screen, because this would have been like the most. I mean, as much love as I have for Christopher Reeve,
yeah.
absolutely do not want to diminish anything Mr. Reeve did, but that's friggin' Superman, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still Christopher Reeve is still going to be my Superman, but yeah, I can just imagine Brendan Fraser with the aw shucks thing for Clark Kent, that whole attitude. But then, like, he's that good of an actor that he can turn it up and become the Superman thing. Because
Yep.
it would be like I'm imagining it being something like the first time that you see Christopher Reeve like stop slouching as Clark Kent and stand up straight as Superman, and where he becomes that other person. Brendan Fraser would have done that.
Yeah.
Oh man, that script we would have hated it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. You okay? So you know the deal with the script, right? Yeah.
So here's the story of what Superman Flyby would have been. It would have been a complete reworking of the Superman origin. Krypton does not explode. Krypton erupts in a civil war. Basically, his father Jor-El versus
Zod and his
Zod. Yeah, or Zod, or they call him Zod-El or Zodiel or something like that.
Yeah.
But they give Zod a last name, basically. So during said fighting and whatever else, Kal-El is rocketed to Earth to basically to save himself, but also to kind of bring about a prophecy or something along those lines.
Yeah,
So,
the Kryptonian prophecy thing was the thing that stuck in my craw that was really, really dumb.
yeah.
Well, one of the dumb things, but yeah. Anyway, continue.
But basically, so you get a lot of the classics of your Lex Luthor and Lois and all that kind of jazz, and stuff like that. But they even throw in the death of Superman, though he doesn't get killed by Doomsday. He's killed in some other fashion. But you get Superman dying. He goes to the Kryptonian afterlife and meets his father, who apparently committed suicide. And so that's why he's dead in there. They have a conversation. Kal-El's brought back to life and basically has to save Lois and Earth or something like that. So he is basically, for some reason, he somehow was transported to Krypton after he died. So he's now basically, the movie ends in a cliffhanger of him rocketing from Krypton directly to Earth to save it.
Yeah. Oh, and you're also forgetting one crucial bit of the ending too. The reason he has to go back to Earth is because Lex Luthor was a stealth Kryptonian who had been on Earth the entire time. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's Zod's son. They call him like Tyron L or something like that. Something with a T.
Yeah, never mind the great dynamic of like how can like the world's strongest man fight the world's smartest man?
Yeah,
like who can't stand up to him physically but can go up against it. Yeah, never mind that dynamic. Never mind the whole idea of like Luthor is the guy that like is the only guy asking why why we're all worshiping this alien. Which is a characterization of Luthor that I love, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
It really gives him more nuance, and he looks friggin' great, Angel.
Yeah, I agree with the Angel Goddess. I'm sad we didn't get to see this, but
we did get him as Robot Man in Doom Patrol, though.
Yes.
So I was cool with that. He did a great job in that.
Yeah, but I think I'm trying to think, when was the first Mummy film? Because I can't remember if this was between. Let's see. Hang on. Let's get the Google machine here.
This would let me see if I can guess it based on when I remember having the DVD. So I remember it would have been 2000, 2001 when I had the DVD of the Mummy. So this would have been right after that. I'm going to say post Mummy, pre Mummy Returns.
You are incorrect. It is post Mummy Returns.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Mummy was 1999. Mummy Returns was 2001, and then the third Mummy film that no one likes was 2008. So this would have been after his second Mummy film.
Okay.
So
Okay.
basically, at this point, he was a much bigger star because the Mummy films were very successful, and basically we all enjoyed the
Yeah.
first two very much. So yes, this would have made him even further a big
Yeah.
superstar.
I got to tell a small aside for like the first Mummy movie, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
like in college, like I'm like one of the only people with a DVD player, right? Because like I had like my stepsister had won it in some radio contest, and it came with like 7 movies, and this was when these things were like $600, and the movies were like $50 a pop, like it was
Mhm.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But one of them was like, or I think it might have even been the first 2 Mummy movies, but it was at least the first Mummy movie. But I'm in college, and of course, I'm talking to this girl, and she telling her about the DVD player, and she's like, "Oh, I love the Mummy. We should watch that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we go back to my dorm room, and I put the Mummy on, and I'm watching the Mummy. Brendan
Mhm.
Fraser, he's running it out. So then at one point she's like, "I'm tired," and she lays her head in my lap, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that's cool. She's tired. I'm just gonna finish the movie." And so I watched Brendan Fraser in the Mummy, some more. The movie ended. She was like, "Okay, cool," and left and went home or went back to her room. And then it was years later when I realized what had actually happened there, and that I told like you don't just put your head in somebody's lap, that you're just being friendly with, and yeah,
That was
but
your that was your cue.
yeah, but Brendan Fraser was just so damn good in the Mummy. He was so good. How could that movie
Oh,
was fantastic. It was a swashbuckling adventure, man.
an inadvertent block by Brendan Fraser. He,
Yes,
he didn't
yeah.
mean to do that, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was yeah. It's a story that I do enjoy telling and just watching people's facial expressions because they get it long before, teenage me did.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Before the days of Netflix and chill, there was watching
Yeah.
the Mummy in Seth's dorm.
Yeah. Except we
uh,
really did just watch the Mummy.
yeah, and Angel also brings up the
Yeah.
point. Yes, the story
He
does
would have
sound
made he
terrible.
would have made a fantastic Superman.
100%, absolutely. So yeah, but kind of basically Brendan claims that the reason why the movie didn't happen was just a lot of BS studio politics and whatever else, and so his movie never happened. And then basically a couple of years later, J.J. Abrams gets Brandon Routh, and we have that Superman movie,
Yeah. Well, no,
which
it was Singer that got Ralph.
or Singer. I'm sorry, yeah, Singer,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Brent
because that
Singer.
was at the weird spot because there were several attempts with the Superman movie that didn't get off the ground because there was Flyby, that one that we just talked about. There was the Kevin
Nick,
Smith one.
the Nick Cage one. Yep.
Yeah, the Nick Cage one with the Tim Burton one. And which I think might have been the Tim Burton and Kevin Smith one might have overlapped at one point. Like,
It.
but then like
I think Tim may have left the project at one point and they were looking for a new director. And then Kevin Smith started getting some props for his stuff, like Clerks and whatever else, and got a
yeah.
pass on the script. And they may have been considering him as a director for it.
Yeah, from what I understand though, like he would have never like he would have never really taken it because he's not
Right.
like he would have even admitted he wasn't the action movie guy because that was why he didn't do Green Hornet.
Yeah.
Was because like it would have just he said himself like his Green Hornet movie would have just been Green Hornet and Kato like leaning against the Black Beauty and talking, you know.
Yeah.
But
He loves comics, but he knows enough that he knows he's not an action director.
right, yeah. Then there was that Superman movie. Then there was I think that eventually got rolled into the idea of that George Miller Justice League movie that never happened.
Yeah, was it George? Was it Justice League Mortal or Immortal or something?
Mortal, yeah,
Yeah, Mortal.
something
Yeah,
like Army Hammer was supposed to play Batman, and
yep.
yeah, that one was really weird. I'm kind of glad that didn't happen.
Yes, that was
Because
also another odd project.
yeah, because it would have came out of nowhere. Like you would have had like maybe the Brandon Routh Superman, and yeah, I'm with you, Eddie. Like I
Yep.
really liked Routh as Superman. I thought he stepped into Christopher Reeve's shoes really really well.
I
Uh,
absolutely agree.
yeah,
They almost kind of did it on purpose, like he was a carbon copy of Reeve.
yeah. Yeah, this actually swings back into our topic because yeah, Superman Returns did some cinematic injustices in itself, as in it turned Superman into a date rapist,
Yes.
and which I was very upset about. because like if you'll remember in that movie, the whole thing was like he and Lois, like it takes place after Superman 2. So it's not saying that, or it's saying Superman 3 and 4 didn't happen with Christopher Reeve. So it's that timeline, the Donner timeline. And if you'll remember at the end of Superman 2, it's very important that that Superman or that Lois accepts both Clark and Superman. You know, as the she can't like he doesn't want
two different people, yeah.
Right, they're two different people, but it's still important that she loves both of them.
Yeah.
You know, not just Superman and not with Clark. So that's the whole mind wipe thing happens. And then, that's how Superman 2 ends, right? She goes back to not knowing that, Clark Kent is Superman.
Right.
Well, then in Superman Returns, not only does she, apparently Superman went back and told her after that, then they hooked up. And then Superman's like, I'm going to go out and get some cigarettes. I'll be back in 5 years. And, screws off to Krypton.
Yeah.
And then,
to find if there's anything left of Krypton.
Right. Yeah. Which is totally going up against his character and everything. And then, to leave, his pregnant, baby mama behind, like Superman ain't going to do that, especially not with Lois. Yeah.
And then he hasn't been gone for longer than 5 years because the kid's like what, 12 in the movie?
Yeah, he's 12. Oh, and the whole the Lex Luthor plot being another land grab. That was
of course, at the time we appreciated Kevin Spacey in the role, but obviously that hasn't aged well.
No. Now Parker Posey, that woman can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Parker.
Love me some Parker Posey.
She was great.
I have watched terrible movies just because Parker Posey has been in them, and she's been amazing in all of them. She is like that special treat, like the Netflix Lost in Space series. Whenever I found out that Parker Posey was Dr. What's his name?
The
guy that starts it. I'm like, holy crap, that's brilliant.
And my hot take for Superman Returns, I would have appreciated Parker Posey as Lois Lane more than Kate Bosworth.
Oh yeah. But then
Kate's a fine actress. She was just not right for Lois.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Very few actresses I feel like have nailed Lois the right way. I thought Margot Kidder did a great job.
Yeah.
But Lois to me, the Amy Adams Lois from the Snyder movies, I never really jived with her just because she seemed way too emotional and emo-y. Like Lois was supposed to be like that Spitfire, she wasn't going to take no crap off anybody.
She don't need no man. She's a badass. Right, yeah. She's a career woman, an accomplished career woman, and it just so happens she fell for a farm boy from Kansas and the guy in the blue tights. But that has she's not letting all that jazz slow her down from getting the story. So that's Lois Lane, and she has no fear. She will go into the face of danger to get the story. I agree. Like Amy Adams isn't, she's good, not great. So it's like, again, we're kind of going back to the 78s, Superman, the original stuff. It's Reeve and Kidder for me. So I'm very,
I totally do.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this new cast is going to do for the James Gunn Superman movie. We got Crypto.
Yeah, I'm real curious about this. It's like on one hand, I'm excited because I think James Gunn will do it right, do it justice. But then on the other hand, I'm worried that I don't want you remember, so how and Joss Whedon was doing all the Avengers stuff and was so intrinsic to the Marvel Cinematic Universe at first.
Yeah.
And then everybody's the quippy one now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and James Gunn kind of does the same thing. I don't want the Superman movie to be like the quippy Guardians or the quippy Suicide Squad movie. I want it to be a Superman movie with heart, and yeah.
And granted, there's opportunities in the movie to have your wacky characters like Metamorpho's in there.
Yeah.
So there's some comedy aspects to Metamorpho. Guy Gardner is in there, and Nathan Fillion is playing Guy Gardner,
who better dye his hair red. Damn it.
Yeah, Eddie agrees. Yeah, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner will be great. So
that's going to be a cinematic injustice to me, because it's my conspiracy theory with this is that the ginger characters in movies or in other media never stay ginger when they goes to a movie, and
except for Jean Grey and Mary Jane Watson.
Kirsten Dunst is not a real ginger.
True, but she at least had red hair in the movie, though.
Yeah, they at least did that. Okay, well, you remember how I was getting mad at you last night whenever you kept shooting down my nuanced points?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't supposed to do that tonight, damn it. Yeah, I forgot about that. But no, it's yeah. So Guy Gardner, like Nathan Fillion better dye his hair red for this one.
I seem to think he's got the Guy Gardner cut for this movie. I could have swore I saw a picture of his suit, and he looks like him in suit. It looks like he's got the haircut.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we shall see here. What's your next cinematic injustice? You said you had a third one there.
Oh gosh, and so I was actually kind of stalling because I totally forgot what the third one was. I know I texted it to you. Hang on a second.
It has to do with Enter the Dragon.
Oh yeah, Bolo Young and Bruce Lee never fight in Enter the Dragon. And I'm not even a big Enter the Dragon fan. I think it's kind of a not so great movie. But Bolo Young doesn't need to be fight like I know he fought Jim Kelly and that was all cool and everything.
Right.
But like you want to see the toughest dude fight Bruce Lee. Like let's be real.
Not the old man with the weird bear claw.
Right, yeah. I mean, that works as an ending, I'm fine with it. But, you still need to set up Bruce Lee as, as your main antagonist in the movie. And Enter the Dragon, number one, Enter the Dragon doesn't do that because there's 3 protagonists in that movie.
Yeah.
John Saxon actually thinks that he is the star of the movie through the whole thing. Have you heard that story?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is laughable to me. Like, I'm like, Bruce Lee's the reason why that you're there. It's like, yeah. You're not the martial arts guy that you think you are just because Chuck Norris worked with you for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's like, and you're also in the movie with Jim Kelly, who is basically a nationally accredited black belt.
Right. Yeah. Who is like another legit martial arts star in a movie. John Saxon's probably the least qualified martial arts guy on that movie.
And it shows. Because his fights are the worst in the movie. But Jim Kelly's awesome. And Bruce Lee, I don't need to say anything else. But I like me some chopsocky stuff.
And I want to be clear, too, that my problem with Bruce Lee movies is that if you pay attention, Bruce Lee never gets beat up. He never takes a hit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like he's always the toughest dude in the room, which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
perfect
fine in all those movies. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, even Van Damme gets the snot kicked out of him sometimes in his movies. Like Seagal never gets beaten up, but Seagal movies suck anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bolo Young, if you guys don't remember, he basically was an actor. Pretty much, I think he worked till like the early 2000s. But was always played a Chinese guy, built like a pro wrestler. This guy was huge.
Yeah, he was the big beefy dude that Jim Kelly fought in the middle of the movie. He wasn't the dude that broke the bottle and ran. That was another dude. But yeah, no, Bolo also shows up in just about every Van Damme movie between the 90s and the 2000s.
Yep.
Because Van Damme was all about like the Hong Kong Chinese, bringing in the directors and the actors for that. So yeah, if you're imagining the dude, I think they even modeled a character in Double Dragon off of him.
Yep.
The big guy with a very iconic looking dude. Like
just massive, the largest Chinese guy you've seen since basically who's the basketball player Yao Ming. Basically probably up until Yao Ming shows up in the NBA, that was the biggest Chinese guy we'd ever seen.
Yeah, and also probably like he's about the size of Sammo Hung, but muscular.
Yes, just mountain of a man.
Yeah,
always
not taking away from Sammo either, because Sammo is in shape for his style. I'm not. Yeah,
Sammo Hung is every fat guy's favorite martial artist because he is representation. It's like he looks overweight. He doesn't look like he's a badass, and then all of a sudden, like he spin kicks you at the speed of light, and like, where did that come from for this guy's size?
Yeah.
Sammo Hung was every fat guy's favorite. So let me see Sammo. And of course, he was a funny guy too. He he got to transition into American. What show was that he had?
Martial Law.
Yes, Martial Law. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the same time the same night as Nash Bridges. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So this was CBS prime time. So friggin' Sammo Hung had a CBS prime time show. That just did my heart good.
Oh yeah. Funny enough, another fat guy that did martial arts really well, or at least they made him look like he did. Did you ever watch that show Into the Badlands on AMC?
Yes, Nick Frost.
Yes. Oh yes. Yeah. That was awesome.
That was a great show,
dude. That show, like, oh man, watch that show because if you haven't seen it, because do yourself a favor because it's like this feudal, like it's this futuristic post-apocalyptic, like way in the future kind of deal, like when they've lost gunpowder and everything's back on hand-to-hand combat and swords, but it's like this like medieval caste system in a southern plantation style like setting kind of deal. And
but also slightly feudal Japan as well.
Slightly feudal Japan, because they've got their bodyguards called Clippers and everything, and Sonny's like the badass in that. Oh man, I love
it. The thing I love too about the whole series, like, so there's no gunpowder, there's no guns anymore, but we still have vehicles.
Yeah.
So there's still combustion in some way, shape, or form. It's like you okay, right, whatever.
Yeah. You don't want to think about the intricacies of the world too much.
Yeah.
Because again, at the end of
the show.
yeah. But the fights in that show are so good.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Like any of the best high budget martial arts movies you've seen, you get that in like you get some small fights in some episodes, and then like every other episode you get like big fights,
big bombastic fights. Yeah.
But
and the characters are like larger than life, like the Black Widow. And oh man, and it's like it's like got Game of Thrones level intrigue going around with it. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Do yourselves a favor and watch Into the Badlands if you haven't seen that.
Yeah, it lasted 3 seasons on AMC. It piggybacked right around kind of the early seasons of Walking Dead, and just absolutely great. I think it was even like a mid-season replacement show or something like that. So it was one of those shows that I don't think AMC believed in, so that's why they kind of buried it. But it still managed to last 3 seasons.
Right.
It was just incredibly inventive. It's stuff we've seen before, but the combination we had not yet.
Yeah, it was a different recipe than what we've had, and
absolutely,
and especially to get like I hate to knock on Kung Fu because, well, I kind of don't like David Carradine anyway, but so I'm gonna knock on Kung Fu a little bit. Yeah, like if you're thinking of like a martial arts show like Kung Fu, like Kung Fu wasn't really a martial arts show for one thing. Like
it was Tai Chi on TV.
Yeah, it was Into the Badlands is a Kung Fu movie every episode. Sometimes even multiple times. Sometimes even for the entire episode.
It's like the best Jackie Chan or Jet Li movie, and like the 90s, 2000s era. Just great stuff.
Oh yeah.
Good, high budget, great. I can't say enough good things about the show. And you add Nick Frost for the comedic effect, slimy, shifty character, but also still lovable.
Yeah. Oh, and I loved it. I loved that reveal too, because it's like he comes in the second season, but he doesn't actually fight until like the 3rd episode or something like that. So it's like you're getting used to this idea of Nick Frost just being Nick Frost, and then suddenly he turns into Kung Fu Panda.
It's great.
It's so good, and it's like, and it's done in such a way that it's like if I'm sure he had to do some kind of training for it. Or to actually do it. And it's like, I know that obviously there's like editing and camera tricks, and it's like to make them look good, but it's like we're talking like these are solid fight scenes with like not a bunch of jump cuts, like multiple hits, in one thing. And
it basically it's pretty evident that Nick trained his ass off for this and worked like a mofo to make these scenes look good.
Yeah, and to become a believable fighter. Yeah,
and basically he does. I agree. It was just a lot of fun. Well, before we get to my last pick here, Dave Mattingly, my buddy Diamond Dave, offered several selections here of cinematic injustices here. So starting off, a very obvious one, the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Next up, any of the Disney live-action remakes. So far, they haven't had a good one yet.
I'm going to agree with them totally on that one, because it totally undermines the animated classics that they've done by trying to rehash them with this live action schlock that won't look near as good as the animation.
Or what I kind of hope the parents are doing is they the kids want to go see the new, The Lion King with Beyonce and stuff like that, or Beauty and the Beast with Kajagoogoo or whatever. I don't know.
Kajagoogoo.
It's the first thing that came to my head. Come on.
Yeah. And Little Mermaid with Depeche Mode.
Yeah. and basically like, the kid is kind of underwhelmed or whatever else. They don't see that same magic as if they would have seen the animated movie. And then the parent will go home and pop the animated movie in the DVD player and say, "Watch this, please, because this is the movie." So, so that's a good one. We've kind of discussed this a little bit. The prequels and the sequels for Star Wars. Yeah, you know what? I'm not a fan of the prequels either. There is an entire generation of children and people who are now in their 20s, getting close to their 30s, that would highly disagree with us. But I will give a caveat. Had we not had the prequels, we would not have the Clone Wars series. We would not have Rebels. And those were two fine animated series that did a lot more to expand the Star Wars universe than the actual prequels.
Yeah. So. I'm going to even kind of defend Revenge of the Sith a little bit too, because I thought that was actually, for what it was the best out of the prequels, I thought.
It was. I compare that. It's like, I would agree. It's kind of like, it's the difference between getting shot in the foot versus shot in the stomach. I'd rather get shot in the foot. It'll probably hurt less than getting shot in the stomach, and you certainly won't die from getting shot in the foot as long as it's taken care of.
Fair. Now, one thing I did find out about the prequels that I did not know that makes me kind of dislike them a little bit more. So George Lucas was so into Joseph Conrad's hero's journey, right? That that is why the whole midichlorian virgin birth thing is in there, so that it fits the hero's journey better. And and it's like, and if you follow the whole like contemporary thing with the hero's journey, there's this whole like this incorrect mindset that every story is based off the hero's journey, which it's not.
No.
Because like or was it Campbell or Conrad? I can't remember who I'm saying.
Just Campbell.
Campbell. Okay, yeah. So when Campbell's writing this, like he's talking, like he's saying that it's like, oh, these are all like all these old stories or deviations of these old myths that all follow these specific set of tropes. But then like if you actually read what he's saying, it's like they follow these tropes except when they don't. And then because it's like, if you really think about it, like almost no story follows the traditional hero's journey completely.
Oh, absolutely.
Like there's always some kind of subset or like deviation to it at some point.
Yeah.
So never let anybody tell you that the hero's journey is an accurate thing.
A revenge-o-matic is definitely not a hero's journey.
No.
Revenge is not a hero's quest. Shut up. Next up, Highlander 2.
Highlander 2. Oh man, yeah. Oh gosh, that should have been a cinematic abortion.
Honestly, I would say anything beyond the first Highlander, I would classify as cinematic injustice, because I didn't care for this. I thought the series was unnecessary. All the sequels, like
really the series. Now a lot of people are high on this. I liked the series.
Oh, I know a lot of people are high on the series. I don't care.
Yeah.
The movie ends with the last immortal being Connor McLeod, and he got the prize. That's it. That's the end of the movie, the end of the story. There are no more immortals. There is no future stuff where more immortals come back. No.
Right.
That's it.
I'll never forget seeing the trailer for the fourth one in the theater. And of course, the tagline is there can be only one. And then one dude in the crowd yelled, "There should have been only one." Yeah.
Street Fighter. We talked about Van Damme earlier. Yep. Yeah, that Street Fighter movie is pretty terrible.
I liked that Street Fighter movie though, for the camp aspect of it.
Yeah, but if anybody that was a fan of the game, it crapped all over it.
I mean, Capcom still loved it. Capcom's still all about that Street Fighter movie.
I don't know why. I mean, the only redeeming quality is that Raul Julia you could tell he's having a good time as the bad guy in the movie, but unfortunately it was his final role. It's like,
right. Yeah, he took that movie because his kids were huge fans of the game. Yeah.
Can you imagine if Frank Langella's final role was Masters of the Universe? Because again, he took that role because his kids liked the toys and he wanted to make a movie for his kids. And the best part of that movie, he hammed it up. But what would have been if Frank Langella's final film would have been Masters of the Universe?
Yeah. Well, it was almost the case with Martin Sheen and Spawn as well. And Dave, you and me are gonna fight on that one.
Yeah,
the Snyder trilogy of is a horribly misunderstood trilogy, I believe.
Yeah, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to play Switzerland on this one because I just was not impressed with really. The only thing that kind of caught me with Snyder's stuff was the 4 hour Justice League cut.
Yeah.
I thought was good because it basically made a lot of his stuff make a little more sense. But it's just the whole tone and everything of all his Superman stuff. Um, just okay, I get everything's dark and rainy and okay, but I just despite the fact that a lot of people love Henry Cavill in the role, and I like Henry Cavill, I thought he would have been a fine pick for Superman. But the way that the take they had on Superman for that entire trilogy, I just did not like.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people feel that way too. Like I really enjoyed it as like a different thing because it's like I saw it as a Superman that was trying to still struggle to be the good guy.
Okay.
But then they had done some interest or Schneider had done some interesting things with the lore that I enjoyed. Like the whole idea of Smallville knowing that Clark Kent was Superman, but nobody really saying anything.
Hmm.
Just because like I liked that. I liked like everybody hated on Kevin Costner in that movie, right? Because like
Oh, he
his
was.
arc.
I love Costner. Yeah.
Yeah, but like his arc in the movie, like they keep saying that it made no sense. And I'm like, no, his arc was fantastic because he's got to be like the father that doesn't want anything bad to happen to his son. But then on the other hand, like, he's the only person on earth who's the father to an alien.
Yeah.
And,
But he makes that
like,
ultimate sacrifice to try to protect his son's anonymity. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, not yet. Yeah. There and and even like even the Superman stuff I dug, even up until like, the ending of Man of Steel. Like, a lot of people were hating on how that ended,
Yeah.
with Superman killing Zod and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And like I've never understood the whole like thing people had with like Superman's no kill rule because I don't think it's ever been explicitly stated that
No,
he doesn't kill.
he prefers not to. Batman's got the no kill rule, but not
Yeah,
everybody in the DC universe has that rule.
right.
Because I mean, Superman killed Doomsday.
Yeah, Superman killed Doomsday. Superman killed the Phantom Zone criminals.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I will even point out that Batman's no killing rule only works up until he doesn't want it to work. Because then a lot of those people like that he beats the crap out of would be dead.
Yeah.
Or that's a whole other discussion though. But the Superman, the Dawn of Justice thing though, that actually did a lot for me to like. So Superman, Man of Steel ends with like half of Metropolis being destroyed, and then like everybody's kind of like, well, Superman's here, right? And
Yeah.
then Dawn of Justice opens with this whole idea of half of Metropolis is destroyed, and people are pissed about it.
Hmm.
They're wondering about and it's like that was like one thing. Like not everybody loved Superman.
Yeah.
In that the whole Holly Hunter and what's his name the guy that played Lex Luthor
Oh,
Jesse Eisenberg.
yeah.
Yeah.
Eisenberg. Yeah.
Yeah. Eisenberg's Luthor, I thought was fantastic. Like, I thought it was a great new, like, take on that,
Hmm.
given what it was. And, like, just how, like, now even the extended cut, I liked it better of Dawn of Justice because you got Batman actually being a detective,
Yeah.
which
And
he very rarely.
I did actually like the Batfleck take on it. That
Yeah.
that Robin was killed by Joker, and basically, so Batman's very, he's in a dark place and
Yeah.
been in a dark place for a long time.
Yeah. To the point where Alfred is, like, seriously worried about him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like he's drinking on the job. Like
Right. Yeah.
you don't see Bruce drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, that numbs the senses. He's got
Yeah.
to be on all the time, and here he is, trying to cut the pain with alcohol. Like, wow.
Yeah. But see, that even works for me too, because like later on, like even with the whole Martha thing, and like, because Superman like knows that like, he can say that name and it'll like be the one thing that makes Bruce realize like, hey, like stop being a psychotic asshat for a second.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then like, and then Batman's whole redemption arc, which is then later on with the 4 hour Justice League cut, which I thought was phenomenal. How many times, by the way, how many times are we ever going to see a filmmaker get to make his exact vision unabated for a major property like that, like we did with the Justice League 4 hour cut?
I mean,
And
if you get enough fan response behind it, I guess that's how it gets
yeah,
done. But yeah, I mean, it was just unrelenting. The fans like, we want this cut.
yeah.
We know what
Well,
we know
the
what
Joss Whedon cut was awful,
it
but
absolutely was. Yeah,
yeah,
he just don't get me started on Whedon.
yeah,
All right, a couple more things that Dave's got here.
yeah. Sorry,
Son of the Mask.
Son of the Mask. Yeah, never even saw that. Knew that I had no need to watch that one.
Yeah, one I completely agree with. The Hobbit as 3 movies.
Couldn't
One
even
movie,
make it
folks.
through the first one.
One movie, folks.
Yeah.
It's one movie.
I think Peter Jackson would even agree about
Oh
that.
yeah, I mean, Peter was trying to say, okay, well, let me just do 2. I can make it 2. We can stretch it out a little bit. I can make it 2. And New Line's like, nope, you got the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You got to have the Hobbit trilogy too. He's like, it's one
Yeah.
book.
Yeah,
Look
it's
at it.
one book that's shorter than any of the other books that he adapted already. You
Yeah,
know?
it's like it's half the size of the Silmarillion, for God's sakes. It's
Yeah.
like, and now Amazon wants to make a TV show on the Silmarillion.
Yeah. And then Peter Jackson
Yay!
had to come in off of Del Toro's stuff too, right?
Hmm.
Because they were like ass deep in pre-production with like some of the sets and everything with Del
Yep.
Toro. Yeah.
Yep. I know. They tried with Del Toro and it just wasn't working out. So yeah, he
Yeah.
had to
I
finish
mean,
it
Del
out.
Toro does have this bad habit of like announcing 85 projects, and you know that like 70 of them will never happen.
Yeah,
But
we're all still waiting for the Mountains of Madness, by the way.
yeah, and I think we'll get Hellboy 3 before that.
Well, we're up to Hellboy 4 at this point, so we're waiting for Hellboy 6 with the return of
Well,
Kevin.
I meant like Hellboy 3 is in the Perlman trilogy. Yeah.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Green Lantern
Green
definitely.
Lantern, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Indiana Jones: The
Jones
Dial
and
of
the Dial of
Destiny.
Destiny.
Yeah, you know what? I
It,
don't hate Dial of Destiny as much as I hate Crystal Skull, though. I found some enjoyment in Dial of Destiny that I found none in Crystal Skull.
See, Dial of Destiny committed like a cinematic atrocity to me just because I thought it was boring.
No, there's
And you
that
know,
too.
it was not that like fun adventure like of Indiana Jones. Like I don't want to see depressed ass Indiana Jones like, you know, going through a movie like, yeah.
He's old and
Uh,
he's tired and well, see, like uh, one of my favorite late period movies for an action star is Steve McQueen's The Hunter.
Yeah.
Where basically he's playing a skip tracer. He's going after people, jump bail, and whatever else. But they really play into the whole Steve McQueen is old in real life, so his character is also old. And so they're going to play into that, like for chase scenes, or like he's chasing a guy on a rooftop and the guy hops from one building and the other. And Steve's like, I ain't doing that. No.
Yeah.
So they really play into the he's not Bullet anymore. He's now old man McQueen,
Right.
So I like when they kind of play into that sort of thing, but yeah, they play definitely a little too heavy into it. That's for sure. But again, I didn't hate it near as much as I hated Crystal Skull, so I give it a little bit of.
That's fair.
I get a little bit there.
Yeah.
My final pick, and me being an '80s action fan, and most of the time you could probably tell what the reason was why this never happened. But in their heyday, we never got Schwarzenegger and Stallone in the same movie together.
Yeah.
We did late in their career with the Expendables and with Escape
An
Plan.
escape plan, but yeah.
These are older men in their prime, in their heydays. Even going into the '90s, early '90s, stuff like that. We never because there was always a bit of a competition between the two of them because they were the two top guys.
Yeah,
and
they were buddies.
They were.
Yeah,
They
but
tried
yeah.
They tried to remain kind of buddies, but I think the studio also wanted to play into the competition, and so would sometimes try to pit them against each other. It never quite held because they're both good people and they didn't buy into that stupid stuff. But yeah, it was a crime that in their heyday we never got them together.
Yeah, because we should have had at least had something like a Tango and Cash, except it would be Stallone and Schwarzenegger. Not hating on Kurt Russell at all, because Kurt Russell is my dude. But yeah, there's no reason why. And man, if you would have put like the Escape Plan, I think was like the big movie where they were in there together for the whole thing. Because the Expendables, like Schwarzenegger shows up for a little bit, and like
one of the later sequels, I think like 2 or 3, he spends a little more screen time with them together. But yeah, you're right. Escape Plan, they're in the whole movie together.
Yeah. I think Expendables 2. Yeah, that was the one where it was like the big fight at the end had everybody come back in. Like Chuck Norris just shows up, and like Kurt Russell and Schwarzenegger shows up, and like everybody, and they all have the big shootout and everything. I thought that was great. That gave to me what I wanted the Expendables 1 to be.
Angel says she wants them to have a pumpkin carving contest.
Oh man, what?
I was the pumpkin.
No, what if the movie that we had gotten wasn't one of the action movies that we would have wanted them, but it would have been in that weird period where like Schwarzenegger had just done Kindergarten Cop and Stallone had done stuff like Soap or Stop or My Mom Will Shoot or that Oscar movie where it was like where they were trying to be serious actors.
No,
And
Angel's correcting us. They actually had a pumpkin carving contest. Stallone and Schwarzenegger had a pumpkin carving contest against each other. I must find
damn.
this.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
need to find this. Yeah.
Thank you, Angel. Yes, I must find this.
Yeah.
um, and speaking of another Schwarzenegger film that's a crime that should have happened that we didn't, and I spoke with my buddy Trevor about this one as well, because we're both Conan O'Brien fans. But once upon a time, Conan O'Brien and Robert Smigel wrote a script for a Hans and Franz movie that would have starred Kevin Nealon and Dana Carvey, and also Schwarzenegger would have been very primarily involved in the film.
Oh, that would have been great.
He plays their cousin, and they go to visit his house in Beverly Hills, and like his whole house is built like a muscle man. Like the door they go through is like deltoids that separate, and they go through the passage there. But it just Schwartz, like it's very stupid, it's very German, it's very Hans and Franz, it's very early 90s Conan. So like if you love Cabin Boy, if Cabin Boy is one of your favorite comedies of all time, and you're my friend if you do, it's that stupid. But the beautiful thing is that Conan O'Brien's podcast, he got Kevin Nealon and Dana Carvey to come in, and they did a read through of the script.
Oh my God!
So they do it over a 3-part episode. Schwarzenegger could not come in, but later on in an episode where he got Schwarzenegger in for an interview during his podcast, Schwarzenegger's like, "Yeah, I love the script. I was all in. I wanted to do it, but it basically would have followed Last Action Hero, which is my time. I tried to do something different, a different comedy, a little something weird, and it bombed." And so basically my agent video said, "No, do not do this movie." But if Schwarzenegger would have signed on, it probably would have got made.
Yeah, dang.
Yep.
Yeah, because Last Action Hero was about like the last like big Schwarzenegger blockbuster, wasn't it? Like
for a while, yeah. He kind of like he tried to do like the End of Days, and he had like a racer and stuff like that. But yeah, like his last really big successful one was True Lies, and then it was kind of downhill from there. Then he became governor, and that was fine. Yeah. He enjoyed the success with that for a while. So
I'll never forget, like, right after he got elected, and I'm watching the Daily Show one night, and Jon Stewart's talking about, and the newly elected governor of California, whose DVD Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines is in stores this Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah. Oh, and Angel wanted to tell us that Stallone says he won the pumpkin carving contest.
Oh, of course, yeah. Oh, I do know that on YouTube there's this guy that he's gone through and he's done AI mock-ups or AI like deep fake replacements of movie scenes but he puts Stallone and Schwarzenegger in them, right? Oh, nice. So imagine the scene from Step Brothers where the drum set scene, but it's Stallone and Schwarzenegger. And then and then there's another one he did where it was Schwarzenegger and Stallone as Jay and Silent Bob, and Schwarzenegger is Jay, and he's doing the whole like the spiel like from Clerks 2 where Ethan Suplee comes up to buy weed from him. And of course Stallone is Silent Bob the whole time, so it's like he's just making facial expressions. But where it's AI looking so good, it's ridiculous. But it's
I'm going to see some mermaids.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, it was great because it was that line. It was like it's like Schwarzenegger was talking about. It's like it's like I'd be the first guy to go to space and have sex with a Martian, and then people would be like, "There goes homeboy, he banged him."
God. See, like we this is such an open topic. We could talk about this all night, but unfortunately, I believe we have reached the end of the road for this evening.
Yeah, I agree. But it was a very fertile topic, though. We will have to revisit this again.
We will, yes. And you actually came up with another idea for another movie topic that I think we need to do in the near future because Seth and I, real talk, we are huge Joe Bob Briggs devotees. And what Joe Bob does best is program a themed playlist, for basically his, various shows, his marathons he does, and whatever else. Because, like, for Halloween, he had the Beelzebub Bubba Bonanza. And so we had Satan's Little Helper and Late Night with the Devil. So basically, two different, very Satan-related movies there, but two, Satan's Little Helper is a total send-up, very, oh gosh, it basically total bad horror movie, but on purpose.
Another one was Dinners of Death for a Thanksgiving one. And that was like, that had horror movies that had iconic dinner scenes. So like Texas Chainsaw Massacre was one of them. There was it wasn't Blood Feast, Blood Rage.
Oh yeah, Blood Feast.
The Thanksgiving slasher. The Takeshi Miike Dead or Alive movie was one of them because of that dinner scene they had in there. Yeah, it's stuff like that. It's like, so you're never quite sure what you're going to get there, but it's always going to be something interesting. But yeah, anyway, continue with your.
Yeah, so Seth came up with the idea of like, let's do themed playlists. Like we pick a certain theme, like school or road trips or whatever else, and come up with a 3-movie playlist and why we pick those 3 movies.
Yeah.
So I think that's a topic we need to do in the very near future.
I agree. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, and of course, we also would. I think we need to get Mrs. Fanatic involved in this one too, especially if we're going to talk about school movies, because
oh yeah,
her being a teacher and whatnot. So yeah, that might be a topic she can throw in a little bit of stuff. So she's got some horror stories, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I love hearing Michelle tell school stories too. By the way,
I hear them all the time. So sometimes I'm kind of like, okay. So sometimes there's some very intriguing stories, and sometimes I get like, I don't know the people or be confused. Like, all right, so who was this person or whoever else? So when they're simple, like this kid did this stupid thing, I'm like, I can follow that. That's an entertaining story.
Yeah.
The adult drama sometimes is too much drama.
Fair.
Yeah. Anywho, thank you guys once again for coming out and joining us on the Fanatic Forum here. I loved hearing from all your comments and questions on here. So Eddie, Angel, Diamond Dave, thank you guys. Trevor. Drayson Boyd, I forgot your comment here. Drayson had a comment because Shawshank Redemption is one of his favorite movies of all time. And his cinematic injustice is that even though at the end of the movie, Andy and Red, are reunited in Zihuatanejo, what happens after? He's like, I wanted more. I wanted to know, do they make it okay? Does Red die 5 minutes later? It's like, do the cops ever find them?
I can feel that because you've been with them through hell for 20 years in prison, and it's like you don't get any of the time that they're supposed to be, the time that they would get to enjoy with each other.
I mean, I could have done with like a montage at the end of them, like sanding down a boat and having a couple of beers and a laugh, something like that. Morgan Freeman's in a change of clothes, looking all beachy, and he's got a linen shirt on or something like that.
Right? Yeah.
It's like, I'm agree with Drayson. I want to see them enjoy this new life of freedom they have together.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the story ended the same way the movie did.
It pretty much did, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I've never read the Rita Hayworth, The Shawshank Redemption, so I didn't know. But yeah, so okay, yeah, but yeah, I actually agree with Drayson's point. It's like, yeah, good point. You want to see that there, but anywho, didn't want to leave that comment out. But anyway, wrapping up for tonight though. So again, thank you guys. Don't forget. Like, subscribe, follow us wherever you find us on social media, whether it be Facebook or YouTube. Of course, we are on every place you could download podcasts, whether that be Spotify or, whatever. I don't care. All the places you listen to podcasts. But also, do not forget my brother's show over here, Smokes and Road Beers, which is Thursdays, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And basically, you guys are you get to say a little more naughty words on the show, but you guys, of course, cover a lot of the same stuff, in-depth topics, and whatever else. You all are a weekly show, so yeah, they're on Facebook and Rumble, so give them some love and a view and all that good stuff too, as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, that is going to do it for us for this evening. So you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next time on the Fanatic Forum. And in the meantime, we are going to send us off with our buddies from Comic Books for Kids. Y'all have a good one.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.